panel of ESPN writers, who I need to tell you, I respect and admire, come together to give a Power 4 ranking inside of each one of the conference for the Power 4 teams plus Notre Dame. And in the Big 12, they have Colorado ranked 10 out of 16. I got some questions about this. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. So if that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question below. Do you think that Colorado is 10 out of 16 when we're talking about retention of players, retention of coaches, and more or less your overall roster management? I, for one, think that's a tad bit low. I'm not saying that this is the #1 team or the #2 team that I would have in the Big 12 right now. However, the two teams that played in the college football playoff, I believe, in the Big 12 championship and one in the college football playoff, I believe need to be there. That said, Cam Skattebo is not at Arizona State anymore, and Kanye Udo, who is good, is not Cam Skattebo. I expect Texas Tech to be there. I expect Iowa State to be there. If they are in your top 5, we can argue about where they should go. Texas Tech did a ton of work in the portal, and they are #1 according to these rankings. I should also mention, didn't make the Big 12 championship like Iowa State and Arizona State. But they looked at Arizona State, and they said, why not us? Because Arizona State was picked dead last in the Big 12 preseason poll last year, and they won the conference, and they put up a damn good fight against Texas, who got to Ohio State and ran into that buzzsaw. So you could make the argument that Arizona State is one of the better teams in college football, full stop, across conferences last year. Also shows one of two teams that can prove a remarkable turnaround is possible in the NIL era. As everybody is up in arms about players getting paid, never mind the 7- and 8-figure head coaches and what they're making, they were also not noticing that in Indiana got to be great because of name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal. That's it. Curt Cignetti was able to go into the portal, identify talent that was undervalued or underutilized, bring it to Indiana, get it to play as a cohesive unit, and win 11 games for the first time in school history after that program had never won more than 10 in a single season. They took their first friggin' loss, to Ohio State. And that Ohio State team won the national championship. Then they get beat down by Notre Dame, which also was a national championship runner-up. This is what Curtis Rourke as your starting quarterback, You can do that because of name, image, and likeness and freedom of transfer, immediate eligibility in the transfer portal. Makes for a remarkable story. Same thing is true at Arizona State. But Colorado was also very, very good last year and tied atop the Big 12 standings. Two reasons as to why are gone: Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. We can have a different conversation about Shedeur Sanders, but we will not argue that he did not throw for 4,000 yards, damn near 40 touchdowns. We also can have a different conversation about Travis Hunter and the Heisman Trophy winner. But the conversation that I would like to have is they didn't have no run game, dog. They didn't have no run game. Forget the pass protection. Forget that part. They were dead last in running the football last year, and they still won 9 games. What happens if they get even a small rushing attack? What happens if Shedeur Sanders' arm is not the only way for which you can move the ball, let alone score points? Okay, so what'd you do if you're prime? You went and got Marshall Faulk, which immediately upgrades your running back credibility and your ability to recruit to the position. You changed your offensive line coach. You brought in Warren Sapp full-time. And, oh yeah, you're the head coach. You are also a Pro Football Hall of Famer. So that's 3 Pro Football Hall of Famers on one staff. That is before we talk about Byron Leftwich and whatever he's going to be adding to Pat Shermer's playbook. And then you have the 5-star in Julian Lewis, along with the seasoned vet in Caden Salter. So either way, you've got a big, wide, large ceiling for your quarterback play. Yeah, you're losing Travis Hunter, but they were pretty deep at receiver, if you did not remember it. Not just last year, but this year. They had guys getting drafted, Jimmy Horn goes late, but he gets drafted. Will Shepard, I think, is still going to have an opportunity to have a great NFL career. I believe that. You've also got other guys that are ready to play because wide receiver is not a position for which you really have to struggle if you're Deion Sanders. From the moment he got to Jackson State, he turned Kevin Coleman onto Jackson State. He turned Travis Hunter onto Jackson State. He can get receivers. He can get a quarterback. Offensive line is coming, right? Jordan Seaton being an example of that. BJ Green was great on that defensive line. They're going to miss him. I'll get with that. I'll even get with missing Shiloh and Cameron Stowe and Craig. I'll get with that. But you retain Robert Livingston, who was the biggest off-the-field addition that he made last year because they made the defense credible. And with a credible defense and a passing attack, they won 9 games. Imagine what happens with a credible defense, passing attack, and a running attack. That's not no 10 out of 16 in the Big 12. Okay? That is a team that should be ranked ahead of Utah, who they are not. Should be ranked to Cincinnati, who they are not. Ranked just ahead of Houston. And I don't know that Houston's going to be that damn good. They got a 31-year-old coordinator that I still need to see some things from. Love some young coordinators. I really do. But I need to see some things. I personally need to see some things. I don't think Texas Christian is going to be as good as many people think they are. I don't necessarily believe that Utah is going to get it all figured out in what is left of Kyle Whittingham at Utah. I think we're near the end. He's already been more or less saying that. I think if they'd have been good last year, we might have seen it. He might have just handed the reins over to Morgan Scalley. But for Utah to be the kind of Utah that we expect to finish ahead of a Colorado, they're going to have to play the kind of football they haven't played in years, which means opening up the playbook and tossing the football down the field. That's not something that he's wanted to do, Kim being Kyle Whittingham, for years. But you have a quarterback who's more than capable of being every bit the dual threat that Jalen Daniels is. I'm not sure that Oklahoma State is going to be as bad as people think, but they are ranked behind Colorado in these rankings. Iowa State, I get it. I understand. They're good. I made the point for Arizona State and Texas Tech. I'm not arguing those. It's once we get past 4 into 5 where I would really like to know, is it that much that you're putting into Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? And if you're putting that much into Travis Hunter, not Shedeur Sanders, got to ask you why. Travis Hunter plays a dependent position. You know what that means? It means he depends on service of the football. At corner, you depend on either you are being targeted or you're affecting the game by not being targeted. People threw at Travis Hunter. They threw at their own risk, but they threw at him. They don't throw at you at every play. Quarterback takes a snap on every play. I think that if Caden Salter, who I think is going to be the starter, is as good as Shedeur Sanders was last year, and you add to this, Caden Salter is a better runner with the ball than Shedeur Sanders, and you add just a running attack that's credible, you're a better football team. So 9 wins becomes 10. That simple. It might be as simple as you won the Alamo Bowl instead of you lost it. Could be that. I am not ready to say Colorado's going to win the Big 12 championship. Because frankly, you could make a great argument that everybody but Central Florida, West Virginia, I think those are the teams that I'd be like, I don't see it for you this year. However, I said that about Arizona State last year. Everybody said that about Arizona State last year, and we were all wrong. So it's possible. But when I look at Prime, and I look at Marshall Faulk, and I look at Warren Sapp, and I look at Caden Salter, I look at Julian Lewis, I look at Pat Shermer, I look at Robert Livingston, I look at Byron Leftwich, I look at $10 million, $54 million 5-year extension you handed to Deion Sanders, and I look at how the train has gone from 4-8 to 4-8 to 9-4. It's hard not to think that that's going to be a good football team, and it's really difficult to pick out on the schedule the games that they're absolutely positively going to lose. Because there's no Bama on their schedule. There's no Georgia on their schedule. Georgia Tech's going to be a tough game for them. But it's not a game that they couldn't win. They don't have Texas on the schedule. They don't have Ohio State on the schedule. They don't have Penn State on the schedule. They have Notre Dame on the schedule. They don't have USC on the schedule. It's the Big 12. It's fine. It's okay. Now, are we going to expect them to win a national championship? No. But be better than 10th out of 16 teams in the Big 12? Hell yeah, I expect that. What are we talking about?